Hi YouTube friends, and welcome to this very overdue 8th entry of the Thoughtful Knitter video journal. My name is Ailie and I am recording this in my home in the very far north of the Scottish mainland, and there goes my clock. It is a delight to be in your company. Thanks for joining me. If you have been here before, then thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it, especially when I disappear for a month or so at a time. And if this is your first visit, then welcome in. It's lovely to have you here, and I'm really glad that you've decided to give this channel a go. I hope that you like what you see. I want to say a special hello and welcome to a wee flurry of new subscribers that we've had over the last month or so, that I'm pretty sure has all come from Selma of the Little Big Knits podcast. She very kindly mentioned me a couple of episodes ago, and I definitely noticed an increase in subscriber numbers after that, and we have actually tipped over into over 4,000 of you now, so that's really exciting. And yeah, if you are a friend of Selma's and have come on her recommendation, then thank you so much for giving it a go and also for subscribing. It's really appreciated, and a special thank you to Selma. Yeah, I can't really remember how I talk about things in these because it's been a while. And I'm aware that there's a lot going on in the world at the moment. A lot of people, pretty much everyone, is having big feelings and feeling all the feelings. And if you're in the extremely privileged position, as I am, of not having to worry about your loved ones going off to war or being bombed in your house, then I sometimes feel that the best way to deal with overwhelm, or some of the ways to deal with overwhelm for me anyway, is distraction and recentering. So I'm hoping that I can provide a little bit of distraction for you with all my nitty chat. And for a bit of centering, I hope you really enjoy this little bit of video with some snowdrops and birdsong. Okay, welcome back. I hope we're a little bit chilled. I hope everyone has been well, or as well as can be. And yeah, let's get into all the nitty goodness. Is there anything I need to tell you before we get into the main things? I'm going to speak about the make-along that I'm running at the moment at the end. I am very aware that I have been a terrible hostess and have been pretty absent from interacting and social media and things for the last wee while. But before we get into everything projects-wise, I just wanted to say, bit of a rookie error here, but I forgot to say that if you are taking part on Instagram, you need to have a public account for anyone to see your posts on the hashtags. So if you've been posting and I haven't been noticing them or liking them, that's why you've probably got a private account. And if that's the case, you can still enter by emailing your entries to me. So I'll put the email address on the screen here. It's thethoughtfulknitter@gmail.com. And like I say, we'll talk about it more at the end. But before that, let's just dive straight in and talk about what I'm wearing. So it seems a bit bonkers really to be talking about a worsted weight cabled jumper as we're coming into spring, but I did knit this back in November, early December, and it was a test knit for Tejer en Inglés, who is Belén Fernandez, and this is called Soronda, which is, Belén comes from Asturias in the north of Spain, and the local dialect and language there, Soronda means autumn. So yeah, this is quite autumnal colours and definitely something that you would like to knit moving into autumn winter, so that's great for those of you in the southern hemisphere. Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly talk about it because it's been a while and my memory is getting hazy as to what I did with it, but it is knit in the yarn that the pattern called for, which is the Rerum Natura Gilliatt, or I think it's actually Gilliatt if you speak French. I heard Odd of the Baubles and Berries podcast talking about it just last night, and I'm pretty sure that's how she pronounced it. Anyway, it was really nice to work with. It's a woolen spun yarn. It's got quite good meterage on it because it's lighter weight. And yeah, really bouncy, excellent stitch definition, so really good for cables. I was a bit disappointed in that a couple of my balls, I used just over 3 balls to knit my size, which was the second size. Quite 2 of those balls had a lot of joins and knots in them, which is just annoying. I mean, you have to untie them and then you can spit splice it, but yeah, it's just a bit annoying. So that's the only downside I had about the yarn. I love the colour, I love the stitch definition, it was really nice to work with. It feels quite dry as you're working with it. Yeah, so I'm probably not going to try and move too much to show it to you because the light here is terrible. It's we're at kind of low winter light, late afternoon, so we're about maybe half an hour away from sunset, so it's streaming in and you can probably see lots of little flakes flying about all over the place, which is dust, because I knit instead of doing housework. Anyway, yes, so this is the jumper. It has balloon sleeves and mine comes to like just kind of high hip length. I knitted it, you've got an option to knit either a double folded neckline or a plain one, and I just went for the plain one. I really like it. It's high enough up that it keeps my neck a little bit warmer because I have no hair to do so. The cables were really nice to work. It's only in this front panel, so you have a lot of just stocking stitch, so that's quite nice to work. You know, it's a bit of interest but not too much to become overwhelming with lots of charts. These cables, all the cables except this central one here, you're only really cabling every 4th row. This one is every 2nd row. And yeah, it was excellent pattern, really well written. She has you doing short rows as you're also working raglan increases, and then you start, for the smaller sizes, you start working these cables and then gradually enter these in. So I would say the first part with the short rows, you do need a little bit of concentration. I was working it while watching catch up of the Great British Bake Off, which, I mean, I didn't make any mistakes, but it probably would have been easier if I had turned the television off and concentrated just for that little while just at the start. Sorry, my voice is going funny. And yeah, really straightforward, beautiful pattern, would definitely recommend it. I have said previously that I tend to find Aran weight and worsted weight jumpers a bit too hot, but this one has actually been excellent. I've not been too hot in it at all, and I think it's possibly the yarn choice It's not so dense. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. The colour is caramel. Yeah, there's not a lot else to say other than if you're coming into winter, I highly recommend it. Or if you're a slow knitter and want to be thinking ahead to next winter, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, then again, I highly recommend it. Yeah, go ahead and cast on. So let's get on to finished objects. Okay, so it's been ages since I last spoke about my actual works in progress and finished objects and things, because the last couple of episodes weren't about that, they were about previous knits. So despite it being ages, I don't really have a huge amount to show you, because a couple of things are gifts, so I can't show you those at the moment. And also a couple of them have either been abandoned or are being left until next year, so I haven't actually finished them. So yeah, saying that though, there is quite a lot to go through today. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the screen here my Ravelry account details. It's Caithness and I'm going to link all my projects on Ravelry down below. I forgot to say that you'll find any information that I talk about in the description box down below, including timestamps if you want to stop and start and not lose your place or cut me off mid-sentence. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to put the information and links to my Ravelry pages down there, because I think there's going to be a lot to speak about, and I don't want it to be too long of an episode. So if you are one of the people who aren't able to access Ravelry but have any questions about what I talk about, please don't hesitate to get in touch. I've said previously, but I do have an email address for the account, and that is thethoughtfulknitter@gmail.com. So if you have any questions whatsoever, just get in touch and I'd be very happy to answer them if I can. So yeah, I did finish, first things first, he is away in the Christmas box of decorations now, but I did finish my second gnome, Neville. So he is keeping Nancy company in the Christmas decorations box. And yeah, straight after Christmas, I think I was feeling rather chilly and depths of winter. So I started knitting lots of things that I needed for myself, because I had been doing quite a lot of gift knitting previous to that. So yeah, I started doing things that I needed. So apologies for the cut there, I was just going to get something else to show you so that I can explain why I was making these mittens. But yeah, so the first thing that I knitted after Christmas was these mittens, and they are patterned by Tania Barley, and they are called something. I can't remember, I'll have to put it on the screen because I am not prepared today. I've just kind of done this on the fly. The light is starting to get really difficult in here. Yeah, so I knitted these in yarn from Woolly Knit, one of their yarn cones in the British wool, and I held it double. And the reason I knitted these was I needed a pair of gloves, because most of mine have holes in them. And I think I've mentioned previously I have a lot of hats, and I tried to kind of rotate them a bit. So this winter I've mostly been wearing this one, which is called Caithness by Dianna Walla. No, Dianna something like that, I can't remember her name. Yeah, so I knit this one in Border Mill North Coast Tweed, I think it's called, and it is a Shetland wool, 4-ply or fingering weight, and I chose the colours because all of the colours are named after locations on the North Coast 500, and I live on the North Coast 500. So I chose these colours based on the names, which were mostly local to me. And I think the hat is actually designed after, named after somewhere in Canada, but because that's where Dianna lives. But I live in Caithness, the original, so I thought I should knit this. So anyway, I've been wearing this a lot this winter, and I've been wearing it with this cowl. Oh, I'm showing you the wrong side there. Which is called the One Skein Wonder LITE cowl, and it's a crochet pattern. And again, I can't remember who it's by, so I'll put the details on the screen. And I knit this using a skein of really beautifully variegated yarn. I think it's merino and silk blend, and it's by a dyer called LITE Knits. So yeah, I was looking for something that would go very nicely with these. So this is what I came up with. So yeah, they've been getting quite a lot of wear over the last couple of months. They're not as warm as I wanted them to be. They're a bit, the wind still gets through them, but they're very nice on a calmer day. Okay, the light is dreadful. I think we're just getting the very last of the night, the very last of the daylight. Yes, so those are finished. I also have finished a pair of actual gloves with fingers and everything. Wait till I show you. And I knitted these as part of a mini knit along with Mega of the Skeins of Dreams podcast on YouTube. And I used the fibre company Amble, and I think the colour was called Saddleback Slate. And now I know they're really boring, but I needed just a pair of general workhorse gloves that wouldn't matter if they got dirty, and I am in love with these. They're amazing. And they actually weren't a nightmare to knit. I always was under the impression that knitting all these fingers would be a nightmare, but I knitted everything on magic loop because that's what I use for small circumference knitting, and it just flew by, and it was really good fun seeing it all come together. And the pattern was by Anne Budd. I think it was called Textured Rib Gloves. I'll write it down below again. It's meant to have a textured rib here, but I just did 2x2 rib, and I made this a bit longer because I don't like having cold wrists, and I think I made the hand slightly smaller than what the pattern said by maybe about 4 stitches or so, and just removed a stitch from each of the fingers to make up for that. So yes, these are warm as anything, soft as anything, and I will definitely be using Amble again for any kind of hard wearing projects. I tend not to use an awful lot of sock type yarn because I don't knit a lot of socks, but I do knit gloves. Well, I knit fingerless gloves, and now I knit gloves. So I will definitely be using that again. And my mum has requested a pair of fingerless mitts, like the ones that kind of have the bottom of your fingers. So I'll probably use this pattern and just knit these shorter. So I will report back as to which yarn I go for those. So yeah, those are my only completely finished objects. I also have something that I did finish with the leftovers from this, but I have decided that it is too short and too shallow, and that I would rather re-knit it in something, possibly, dare I say it, holding with mohair to make it nice and warm. I'm not a massive mohair fan, and I haven't actually ever knit mohair with another holding it double with anything, but I think this might be the project that breaks my resolve. So yeah, as I was saying, I was feeling quite chilly earlier in January, and I cut all my hair off a few years ago, and since then I'm always cold here, no matter, you know, there's always this bit here, so you've got your hat down over your ears and you've got a scarf round here, but there's this chilly bit. And I think I saw this on somebody's Instagram feed and thought, oh, this is what I need a balaclava. Didn't realise they're like the height of fashion at the moment. So this is also my first petite knit pattern. And yeah, it was really straightforward, enjoyable. It's half fisherman's rib. I did do I think she calls it an Italian bind off, which seems to be a tubular bind off with like extra setup rows. I'm not overly fussed on the effect, it seems quite bulky and a lot of extra faff, so I think when I redo this I'll probably just do the tubular bind off that I normally work, which is a video by Very Pink Knits. I'll try to remember to link that below as well. Yeah, so I mean, this is the depth that it says to make it, but yeah, I feel like it could be longer in the neck, and I would prefer it to be a bit deeper. The reason I managed to knit the whole thing without checking is I was using it as a travel project and I didn't have these things or long needles or extra yarn or anything to try it on while I was away, so it got finished and isn't quite right. So yeah, that was a project that got finished but is waiting to be pulled out, and I'll repurpose the yarn for something else, maybe a hat or something. I've got the Saronda hat that uses these same cables, and I have enough for that, so possibly something like that. And the other project that I was working on quite heavily over the last few months, I had decided to set aside for now because it is getting towards spring and this is very much a winter jumper, and it's starting to hurt my hands when I'm knitting it because it's quite heavy, so I don't see the point in carrying on trying to knit it at the moment when I'm not going to be able to wear it for another 6 months or so or longer. So yeah, this is the Braids of Grass by Ailbíona McLochlainn, and I have done both sleeves, full yoke, our sleeve here, and I'm quite a ways down the body, but this is super duper thick and is going to be really warm to wear. I have tried it on, I really like it. I've had to move because we are definitely about to lose the daylight, so I'm back over in the dark corner that has slightly better lighting at night time. Yeah, so I was telling you about my jumper here, which like I said is the Braids of Grass by Ailbíona McLochlainn, and I am knitting this with Estex Plutelope, which I'm holding double. I'm just pulling them from the centre of each plate. and it smells like a lemon shade. I have never realised how, I've never experienced yarn that smells so strongly before. It's actually okay once you open, they come in these little plates here, but they come wrapped in plastic, so once you take the plastic off and give them a bit of an airing, they're not quite so bad. And your hands are really nice and soft after working with them, because I think it's still covered in lanolin from the sheep. But yeah, it's been interesting to work with. I have not had any problems with breakage really, which is something that most people complain of. But what I have discovered is, and I didn't do any research whatsoever when I chose this yarn, I just liked the way it looked, and have been looking for an excuse to use it for a while, because we have a stockist very local to me, and I've been eyeing it up thinking, oh, what can I knit, and then back in November, I think it was, Becky of the Back to Blighty podcast knitted this garment in Letlope, and it suddenly, dawned on me. I was like, oh well, I could use Pluttelope because it's basically the same thing. You just hold it double to get the same weight. So yeah, but the thing about it is, once it is knit together, it becomes really strong. So like there's no give in that whatsoever. So it means that for cabling, it's really quite difficult to work. And these are 3x3 cables, so it's like worked over 6 stitches. So I've had to use a cable needle for those, and it was not a pleasant experience. I was very glad to get down here. And while doing it, because I was having such problems, I was just basically willing my way through it and not really enjoying it. And I got to the end of the yoke before kind of looking at my work, and I had discovered, I think it was 5 or 6 mistakes in my cabling. I've still got one that I haven't bothered to change because it's right up at the top here. So I think you can see that that cable there should be going that way. But I figure it's right at the top, I'm going to put it at the back, and it was too far back to pull. So I was right down here when I discovered all the mistakes. And what I did was I just dropped back these 6 stitches and reworked all of the cables in each section, and it would have made really good viewing if I had thought to film it, but there's quite a lot of swearing going on at the time, and I'm not clever enough to work out how to put cameras and things, how to like get it up above you while you're working away. So if anyone out there does know how to do that, I'd be really interested to know, because it would have been quite interesting for people to watch. But yeah, so all that to say that I am enjoying using the Pluttelope, but not for cabling. I will never use it for cabling again. And I think I would prefer to use it again just singly rather than holding it double, because I think that would make a better weight garment for me. And I see that Michelle of A Simple Life podcast has just knit a Felix cardigan with a single strand, and it looks lovely. So I think if I was to use it again, I would use single strand, or possibly hold it with a lace weight to give it extra strength. But yeah, I don't think I'd be doubling it up, because there's only so many days you can wear great big thick winter jumpers like this. And it's quite a damp climate here in the winter, so even as an outer garment, it's probably not that useful. So anyway, yes, this one, which was getting worked on quite a lot, is now going to be hibernating until autumn time, and then I will be finishing it and wearing it. The colour is, I can't remember, let me see, does it tell me on here? No. No, it doesn't. So I'll have to put it on the screen. I was saying that I had been eyeing it up in our local yarn shop, but I ended up having to get it online because the local yarn shop closed for Christmas and hasn't opened up yet. And it's, yeah, I went today to look for yarn for my mum because they also hold, for my mum's gloves, fingerless gloves, they also carry John Arbin Exmoor sock, and I thought that might be quite nice for fingerless gloves, but they're still closed and have a sign on the door saying we're going to open nearer Easter. So that's like another month away. Yeah, so I ended up buying this online from Wool Warehouse, so it's not quite the colour I wanted. I was hoping for more of an oatmeal colour, but I actually quite like this. I think it probably suit me more than the oatmeal colour. And I don't really have a lot of neutrals, like beigey things or anything in my wardrobe, so yeah, it will definitely be filling a gap in my wardrobe. Okay, so we have inadvertently moved from finished objects to works in progress because those last two kind of blurred the lines a bit. But let's go on to works in progress proper. So I don't actually have very many works in progress at the moment. I do have a gift knit on the go that I can't show you at the moment because I'm pretty sure the recipient might be watching. And yeah, and most of what I had been working on up until a couple of weeks ago was the Braids of Grass jumper. But I have been doing some other gift knits. I've got a couple of babies due to be born this month, one of whom has arrived a wee bit early, and I have just finished, I've finished sewing in all the ends and things, but I still have buttons to go on and blocking to do, so it's still kind of a work in progress. But this is just a little free pattern that I found on Ravelry. It's from West Yorkshire Spinners. It's just a little tank top, and it's got buttons here so that you can open. So I'm going to use these buttons here, which are super duper cute. I only need two, so I'll maybe go for one of each. I'll see what it looks like. I got these at a swap table at a retreat about coming up for 4 years ago, so it's nice to eventually be able to use them. And I've knit this with a Zauber ball by Shopball, held together with Cascade Heritage fingering weight. So it's like a double RM weight, DK weight. So it goes from grey into tealy kind of colours. Yeah, so I think it's safe to show this because with a newborn baby, I doubt that my friend is going to be watching this before she receives it. So yeah, that's my first work in progress that will soon become a finished object. I have also been working on a pair of socks, which is not something I ever really normally work on. I am working on the Rose City Rollers shorty socks for wearing in my bed, because this year, as I was saying, I was feeling the chill a few months ago, and I've only ever knit one pair of adult socks for myself and never really wore them very much. But this winter I have discovered the joy of wearing them in my bed. And I have leftover yarn, so I thought, oh, I'll knit a pair of short days, and then that way I can use up the rest of the yarn, and they might do for the kind of transition months when I don't need a full pair of socks but maybe just on the soles of my feet. So this one is done. I just need to Kitchener the toe. So yeah, it's just like what you would call a vanilla sock really, but with a really short bit here, short leg, and it's got a rolled hem. It's a slip stitch heel and heel flap and gusset. I think that's what they're called. I'm not a sock knitter, and I don't know why I've got these here. I think it was so I knew how many rolls to knit for my second one. I think these are maybe every 10 rolls after the, whatever that's called, gusset, I think. So these are being knit in Woolly Mammoth Fibre Natural Sock, which is a 50% BFL, 50% Cheviot high twist base. So it's non-superwash, no nylon. They're really warm. And it is in the colourway Festive Nights. So that's Emma's label there. I have actually knit the other one, but I didn't pay attention to the pattern and did the heel all wrong. So I'm going to pull this out and re-knit it. So yeah, they're just going to be something that I'd pick up when I'm looking for something mindless to do, because it's just stocking stitching the round really. Yeah, so that is my other work in progress, and the final one is something that I've pulled out of hibernation. I think I mentioned it on my first ever episode, and it is my mitered square blanket. So I got this delightful basket the week, I think it was last week or the week before, and was looking for something to use it for, and I thought, oh, I know, my mitered square blanket needs to come out of hibernation and back onto the needles, so this would be the perfect home for it, and if I have it sitting out I'm less likely to ignore it. So the other thing that had motivated me into pulling it back out is Mega of the Skeins of Dreams podcast that I mentioned earlier. She is running a year-long blanket make-along. So I really wanted to take part. So I have worked a wee bit on it. I'm not going to show you because it's a little bit boring really, isn't it? Just seeing squares of knitting. But I have worked enough that because I started it last February. So I've now got 56 or 57 squares done, and I'm trying to work it that I do at least one square a week on a Sunday maybe, because I know a lot of people do like blanket scrappy Sunday type things, and I'm figuring that if I do that I should have a blanket in about 8 years. So by the end of the decade I should have a blanket, because I want it to be double bed sized, and I'm going to work it in 4 quadrants. So this one at the moment is 10 squares wide. I'm going to make it 10 squares deep, and then I'm going to do the same for 4 others and join them together. Yeah, so I am working like a black border around them just by knitting the first 4 rows in that, and then switching over to the coloured squares. So yes, those are my works in progress. I'm definitely hankering after something new. I've been just trying to get the gift knits for the babies out of the way first before I decide what to tackle. I am kind of thinking I might revisit my Shifty at some point. She has now released an update to the pattern, so I'm thinking there might be a bit more likelihood of it turning out properly, but it's going to involve pulling back. And I've also got another jumper that is probably 3/4 of the way done that it stalled because I ran out of yarn, but I think I have come up with a solution, so that might go back onto the needles too. But yeah, I think a completely new cast on might be quite exciting too. It's maybe just what I need at the moment. So yeah, watch this space. Let's finish off talking about the make along. So it is rapidly coming to an end. It's going to finish in a couple of weeks' time on Sunday, the 20th of March. And I'm going to put the hashtag on the screen. It's called the Eclectic Crafting Mal. And if you want to be in with a chance of winning a prize, you can enter on Instagram. So your finished object needs to be posted on Instagram with the hashtag Eclectic Crafting Mal FO, and or like I said at the beginning, you could email me a photo of that as well. So at the end, I'm going to put in some photos of what you clever people have been doing. But yeah, just a word to say, there's not that many entries so far, so you stand quite a good chance of winning a prize. If you want to see the first lot of prizes that I spoke about, that was in my first of the special episodes, which released partway through January, I think. And I've got another couple to tell you about today. So in fact, let's just talk about them. So first of all, I have this really lovely little pouch by Tartan Taz Creates. Tania has a podcast here on YouTube called Tartan Taz Creates, and she also has a website where she sells some of her wares and creations, and it's www.tartantaz.com. So she is a consummate multi-crafter. She does everything, and she has sent us this really lovely pouch that she's handmade, and she has also designed the fabric. So these cute little bees. So I'm thinking this would be perfect for any notions if you're a knitter or a crocheter or you do needlework. It could also work as a pencil case if you're an artist. So yeah, this is a lovely wee thing. And she also sent us a cute little bookmark to go with it. So that's a lovely wee set from Tania. And I completely forgot to mention that one of our viewers, Jennifer, who is J McStitch on Instagram and Ravelry, she has offered up a pattern as a prize. So it's her Lois Cholette, which is, I'll put a picture in, but it's a one skein fingering weight shawl, and it's like a crescent shape and has picot edging and some lovely lace work around the edge. Very simple, very pretty, and I think would be a really lovely thing to knit up. I may even see if I can find a skein of fingering weight yarn that would go with it. I could put in as a prize too. So yeah, she has offered up this lovely prize, but she has also got a free pattern available, a crochet pattern, and it's called the Biased Linen Stitch Scarf. And it's a free pattern on Ravelry. So if you are a crocheter or if you want to give it a go, then I would suggest going over there, because that's a lovely free pattern that you could have a go at. Yeah, so those are the other prizes on top of what I showed you before. I think what I'm going to do is take a photo of all of them and post it to the community thread here on YouTube so that you can all see the wonderful haul of generous gifts that have been donated for this make along. And yeah, keep an eye out. If you're on Instagram, do follow the hashtag, because there are some beautiful things being made there. We've got first time jumpers, we've got ceramics, we've got project bags, embroidery, and yeah, I would encourage you to share away over the next couple of weeks, especially if you want to be in with a chance of winning a prize. I'll put the date again on the screen of when the make along finishes. And yeah, I'll just show you quickly before I go, I'll show you what I have been working on over the last wee while. So I had already showed you my cross stitch, my greenfinch cross stitch. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with it, but I am mulling over your very good suggestions. And also, I forgot to say thank you so much for all your suggestions about what to do about my jeans and trousers with being pear-shaped, because there were some really good ones in there. So yeah, I think I'll be asking you for advice more often in the future. It was really much appreciated. Yeah, so after I finished my greenfinch, I continued working on some embroidery from the same craft pod set, and I finished off this, which is an embroidered panel here. So these are all French knots and backstitch, and then I sewed them onto this. So this is like a little needle book. So I love this, it's so useful. So you can keep your needles in here. So yeah, the whole thing is hand stitched. It's got like these wee leaves, and then it's got blanket stitch around the edge in here to stop it fraying, and a little crocheted, what's that called? Cord, with this cute little button to hold it all together. And I think this was Mimosa, was what it was. Is that what the foliage is? I don't think you get that in the UK. So yeah, I worked on that and I'm enjoying this. I like something that's useful. So this is, yeah, very useful. So that was finished a few weeks ago. And then I had a right hankering after crochet, but was feeling quite tired and couldn't really concentrate or didn't have the brain space for something complicated. So I wanted something really easy, and I was on a bit of a stash busting kick. So I started crocheting these little yarn cozies. So I did 2 of them. This one was first and this one was second. I think this one was the more perfected version. It's got like a better ratio between the size of the base and the top here. This is based on a free pattern from Ravelry called Spiral something. I'm not good with information today. This is what happens when you don't decide, you just decide to start recording on a whim. I'll put the details on the screen. And the lighter yarn here, that is some yarn that my sister took back from a trip to Estonia 5-6 years ago, maybe more. And I've got it in a shawl, but even when you block it, it's still quite rough. So I thought, well, I'll keep that for something that's utilitarian rather than soft and cosy. And then I used the leftovers from the jumpers that I knit for my niece and her brother, so nephew number 2 and niece number 1. So this is Cascade Heritage, and it's in like a teal colour. So that's like a slip stitch around here. Yeah, so these are really handy. I'm enjoying using them. I really want to learn or have a go at Tunisian crochet, but I've not quite had the headspace yet. So I'm thinking that even when the knit along, I keep calling it a knit along, when the make along is finished, that I might still just carry on working. What I've been doing is I have a Wednesday off of work, and I've been calling it my midweek multi-crafting day. So I think I might continue that, and maybe not be stringent about having to do it every Wednesday, but use it as a day that I can dabble in other crafts and not just get sucked into the knitting all the time. So yeah, I'm quite keen to try Tunisian crochet, and yeah, just a wee bit more crochet because I can do the basics, but I'd quite like to try like colour work and things in crochet. So those were what else I was working on. And yeah, I think that's it. I've also got plans to make a project bag, because that's what knitters do when they decide to sew, but that hasn't quite materialised yet. So yeah, that'll be happening very soon. So yeah, I think that's all I needed to tell you about the make along and what I've been up to. I'm going to put in some pictures at the very end, like I said, of what you guys have been producing, which has been wonderful. I've really enjoyed seeing what you've been up to. So again, please keep sharing, and I'll show them in the next episode, which I hope will be sooner than this one was. I've got some time off happening from work in a couple of weeks, so once I have slept for 5 days solid, I might have a bit more energy and able to make another episode before I go back to work. Yeah, so yeah, before I go on to showing you all the pictures, I just want to say a massive thank you for sticking with me, and yeah, it's been lovely to speak to you again. I won't leave it so long until next time, or I hope I don't, because I've missed you. And yeah, I just hope that you're all well. I hope you're keeping as positive as you can do under the circumstances of the world. And yeah, I hope that you have a lovely crafty time until we can get together again. Take care of yourselves. Bye.